Your interest and enthusiasm and support sustain us and indeed inspire us in the pursuit of our mission with respect to this university, this great university, really, that we all love so much. Good morning to you all. I'm Bill Dempsey, the president of Sycamore Trust, and I'd like to take a few minutes of your time today to talk a little bit about Notre Dame, looking back over the past year and perhaps peering ahead a little bit into 2022 as we see things from the vantage point of Sycamore Trust. But first of all, and most importantly, I want to thank those of you who've responded so generously to our recently concluded campaign for financial support. Your interest and enthusiasm and support sustain us and indeed inspire us in the pursuit of our mission with respect to this university, this great university, really, that we all love so much. Now, so many of you have given so freely that I wish I could recognize each of you, but of course I can't do that. But there are two alumni that I would like to note particularly because they've played a rather unique role among supporters of Sycamore Trust. The first is Mike Hansen of the class of 1973. Now, you've read about Mike and his wife Nancy, who gave a very substantial contribution this past year to be replicated in future years that has enabled us to take our engagement with and encouragement of Catholic student organizations to a new level. We were able to give awards of $5,000 apiece in this past year to the leaders of 5 of the most important Catholic student organizations on campus. And these students in these organizations do absolutely essential work in sustaining and strengthening the Catholic identity of the university. And the second alumnus that I want to mention is George Strake of Houston. George, back 16 years ago, gave us the seed money to inaugurate Sycamore Trust. And every year since then, he has made very, very magnanimous contributions to our organization. And so thank you, George, and thank you, Mike, and thanks so much to all of you. Your support is so much appreciated by us, and we want you to know it. Now, as to Notre Dame, let me just mention a couple of episodes from this past year that I think are particularly significant. The first was the invitation by Father Jenkins to President Biden to be commencement speaker and to be honored on that occasion. Now, here we had the most formidable adversary of the Catholic Church on issues of abortion, sex, marriage, gender, and religious liberty. And here we had the president of the nation's most prominent Catholic educational institution wanting the university to honor him. This would have been, I suggest to you, a scandal of the very first order. Now, President Biden declined, as you know. He didn't want anyone to think that Notre Dame had snubbed him, and so the White House let it be known that he had been invited. And they said that there was a conflict of schedules. And in a manner of speaking, there was, as it turned out. The president and the first lady preferred to spend a quiet weekend at Camp David. Now, the good news here is, from our perspective, is that Sycamore Trust was widely credited with playing a role in the president's decision. Our open letter to Father Jenkins about this matter was signed by thousands of Catholics, alumni of Notre Dame, members of the Notre Dame family, and others. And by harking back to the episode in 2009 when Notre Dame honored Obama. We suggested the kind of reception that President Biden might receive if he appeared. Back in 2009, as you may recall, there was a cascade of criticism by Catholics and Catholic leaders all across the country of Notre Dame's action, and 83 cardinals and archbishops and bishops roundly criticized Notre Dame for what it had done. And when has that ever happened before at a Catholic university? Now let me turn to another development that I think is particularly troublesome, very worrisome in terms of the Catholic identity of the university, and that is the surge in influence and activity of the LGBT forces on campus that seek to undermine the Catholic Church's teachings on same-sex marriage and sex and gender. I won't go into detail about it. We've dealt with this in a series of bulletins, and we'll continue to do that. But just let me take one example. The recent recognition by the Alumni Association of a new LGBT diversity group. This really amounts to the official recognition of the Gay and Lesbian Alumni Association of Notre Dame, an unofficial organization. It's been in existence for some years, and during that period of time, it's made perfectly clear its opposition to the Church's teaching on same-sex marriage. Now, not only that, but the leader of the new diversity group is the president of the Gay and Lesbian Alumni Association. He is engaged in a same-sex marriage with another man, and they have been featured in publicity by the Alumni Association. And not only that, recently Notre Dame Press and the Alumni Association have really been lionizing another alumnus, Greg Bourke. Now, who is Greg Bourke? Greg Bourke and his same-sex married spouse were lead plaintiffs in the litigation leading up to the Supreme Court's declaration that same-sex marriage is a constitutional right. Now, the good news here is that there's been a backlash to what's been going on at the university in this respect, and it's been led by students. First by the people at the Irish Rover, that wonderful publication, and principally by its editor-in-chief, the very courageous Mary Frances Myler, because she's taken somewhat of a beating from her fellow students, a number of them in any event. She's had some support too. Another student organization, so-called SCOP, the Students for a Child-Oriented Policy, have picked up what Mary Frances Myler began, and they've been supporting her. She's had some support from faculty and staff as well. So this has opened a discussion which we hope will continue in a fruitful way, and we'll keep you up to date on it. I think then pretty much concludes what I have to say, except that there is an underlying phenomenon here with respect to these episodes and many others that we've discussed in our bulletins, and that is the marked decline in the proportion of Catholics on the faculty over the years. This goes to the experience of universities and colleges generally. That is to say that the story of the secularization of originally religious educational institutions is always the same. It always begins and it ends with the loss by the predominant number of the faculty of its anchor in the founding religion. Now, that obviously goes to the heart of the university, who teaches and what they teach. But it also fuels the kind of episodes that I've been discussing. Because after all, the culture of a university, in the end, depends upon the culture of the faculty. Now, Notre Dame is obviously in this continuum, but they haven't by any means reached the end. As a matter of fact, in my view, Notre Dame still has the highest proportion of Catholics on the faculty, the highest proportion of Catholics in the student body of any prominent Catholic university in the country, save, I think, probably Catholic University of America. And that means that wonderful things continue to happen day by day at the University of Notre Dame, in the classroom and outside the classroom. For example, in the past year, Notre Dame has hosted Attorney General Barr and Supreme Court Justice Alito, Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas in prominent appearances. I suggest to you that there isn't a secular university of prominence in the country that would have hosted this group of people that they regard probably as an unholy trinity. So there is every reason for hope. There is scant reason for despair, but there is every good and strong reason for continuing concern and for continuing our efforts with your help to strengthen the hand of the faculty and the students that are really fighting this battle on the front lines on the campus. I leave you with that then, and with our thanks once again, and our warm wishes for a grace-filled and joyful 2022.